And welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with us. Now, this is the extended version of Good Morning Kenya. We are coming to you live from Kakamega County, county number 037, with a population of around 1.6 million people as per the 2019 census. They went to the ballot last year. They picked and they voted for their next governor who is going to steer them for the next 5 years. What are some of the development agenda? What's in store for the residents of Kakamega County, and what should they expect from their governor? And on that note, I'm joined on set by the governor of Kakamega County, His Excellency Honorable FCPA Fernandes Barasa. Welcome to our studio, Mheshimiwa.
Thank you. Karibu sana.
Thank you so much. First of all, I'd like to give you a minute. You said we start with the salamu first of all.
Greetings. Very good. Yeah, I want to welcome you to Kakamega. The green jewel. We are known as the green jewel because of forest conservation.
Yes.
This is the second largest county in Kenya, and of course the most populated and the largest rural county. So we just want to welcome you and all the viewers to know what we have done so far for the last almost 6 months.
Absolutely.
So karibuni sana.
How is it private sector into now administration? How has it been like?
I can say that the transition has been very smooth, because even in public sector,
yes,
where I served for almost 12 years, there was a lot of politics, although low voltage politics. But because of my institutional knowledge and public sector knowledge, I've not had a difficult time in transitioning from the corporate world to now politics. Because particularly my life, I've been making decisions which border on political environment.
Yeah.
For example, as a CEO of Ketraco, I was actually making political decisions, although development oriented. So it has not been very difficult for me to settle down.
The administrative weighing of it and the structures of governance from the other side where you are and in public sector, it's more or less the same.
Absolutely.
Already. Real fact, Governor, during your political campaigns and when you are campaigning and having the your agenda for the people of Kakamega County, what were some of the key points that you highlighted during that particular point?
Now, I have 6 main pillars. One of them being health. Of course, we are very keen on provision of health services, not just focusing on the infrastructure. Issues around water is very crucial. I have a slogan of Amazo Mliango, that is water at the doorstep, which we are progressively doing it through my company called Kakawasco. Issues around good governance in terms of just making sure that we have the structures in place, because a county without proper structures definitely cannot achieve more. I've also focused a lot on the social development,
yes,
where we are looking at nurturing talent. We are very strong in music, in football and the like. And that's an area where, of course, we want to engage the youth for purposes of just seeing what else they can do. On wealth creation, it's a crucial agenda for me, because people want to have money in the pockets. So my responsibility has been to look at how we can identify more investors to come into Kakamega, so that we can create employment opportunities for our people. So those are some of the key areas of focus. Then, of course, in education, we still want to improve on the infrastructure for ECD and also our county polytechnics.
Where we should now. Again, you had your predecessor, Governor Paranya. He did tremendously well. Do you think you're under pressure to fit in his shoes?
What I can tell you is I'm not under pressure, and I don't have to fit in these shoes. I have come with my own shoes and my own agenda, which I'm focused to deliver. The good thing is I'll build on the foundation that he has is laid for the last 10 years, and more specifically on the structures which he put in place. And for me, the reason why I've settled very fast is because I'm not trying to fit into Paranya's shoes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. You've mentioned your key pillars on what you want to achieve for the people of Kakamega. Let's start with agriculture. In the last couple of days, you've been traversing all the sub-counties in your county, doing the distribution of the subsidized fertilizer and the farm inputs. Tell me more about that.
One of my key pillars on food security is to make sure that our farmers have food. At the end of the day, when you lead a hungry population, you cannot achieve much. We procured 240,000 bags of fertilizer. That is 120,000 bags for planting and 120,000 bags for top dressing. Now, this fertilizer was procured at a cost of 700 plus maize seeds, by the way.
Yes.
Because you can't have fertilizer without the seeds. So we've procured the fertilizer and maize at a cost of 713 million Kenya shillings. Now, and the subsidy comes in on the pricing per unit. For example, the 50 kg bag for planting, we are now selling it at 2,970 shillings, compared to 3,500 for the national government.
Yes.
Top dressing, which of course we will start supplying from next week. We are selling at 2,330. Again, very subsidized because on the market, it goes to over 5,000 shillings. And then the maize seeds, we are selling it as a subsidized price of 300 shillings. Now, when I look at the response from farmers, and just besides the fertilizer, because what we are telling people is we want to have food security. We've given them fertilizer. We've given them maize seeds. We're also now adding fish.
Yes.
Where we've given out almost 755,000 fingerlings of fish, so that at least we now have, when you have maize and fish, then you're okay. And that is our program, which I've been doing for the last 2 weeks. And the response has been quite overwhelming. We are also going further into just making sure that our fish farming, but then we are among the top 5, if not top 3, counties which are very strong in aquaculture.
Yes.
We have a fish hatchery in Kakamega, and we're also supplying a lot of fingerlings within the region. So on fish, we are good. We also have tissue culture bananas, which of course are being produced at one of our centers and distributed to farmers, where we have done almost 50,000 of them.
Yes.
So my agenda on agriculture is very crucial.
And food security.
And food security for that matter. At the end of the day, of course, we'll also go into value addition. So that after the maize has been produced, we are looking at setting up a factory in the Likuyani and Lugari, basically now for maize milling, that's for value addition. And this, I'm sure it will go a long way in addressing some of the challenges we have on employment. Of course, food security, once we have already gone to the fertilizer, it will be clear. And for us, we are very focused and have allocated a lot of money in agriculture because that is the mainstay of our county. In fact, when you look at our GDP for Kakamega County, almost 52% comes from agriculture.
From agriculture.
Yes.
You know, I believe during your campaign period, that was part of your big agenda. But a majority of Kakamega residents are subsistence farmers. How is it going to be sustainable?
Now, first and foremost, we're looking at the yield.
Yes.
I've challenged all my agricultural extension officers so that we now focus on the yield.
Yes.
Even if you have 1 or 2 acres and you have done soil analysis through now the extension officers and you work on the yield, you will find that whatever now you produce, like 1 acre, we're looking at not having less than 15 bags of maize. So when you focus on the yield, through the help of our extension officers, even that subsistence a farmer may have food for the whole year.
Yeah.
The challenge has been we don't focus on the output and the yield, such that after harvesting, somebody will only get 3 or 4 bags. You know, 3 or 4 bags, and an average family in Kakamega is almost maybe 5 or 6, cannot sustain you for a whole year. But when you focus on the yield, we are talking about harvesting not less than, let's say, 15 bags of maize. That I think is sustainable enough. Yeah.
You know, that must be very close to your heart, even from your committee members and even your administration. When you talk about agriculture, it's one of the key pillars again from the national government. Do you get help from the national government?
We actually have a bigger conversation because when you look at Schedule 4 of the Constitution with regard to the devolved functions, agriculture is one of them. And what we are pushing now, the national government, is to make sure that they devolve all the functions of agriculture. And one of the key functions is about fertilizer. National government has no point of importing fertilizer, and yet that is a devolved function. So we've had a conversation with the executive, starting from the president himself, Dr. William Ruto, during our last summit meeting with the governors, where we are discussing the budget policy statements for the next financial year. And one of our key observations is, why do you still have allocations in agriculture, and yet 90% of those functions are devolved? So, so far we've kind of reached a compromise, and I can see the national government progressively trying to devolve some of those activities, especially like crop production, issues around fertilizer subsidy. If you want to achieve the so-called bottom-up transformation agenda, the bottom of the pyramid is the counties. And if the national government appreciates that, which I can see the president is also aligned to it, then you can now achieve the national objectives. Yeah. So the focus now on agriculture should be empowering counties, allocating resources to follow functions. After you do that, then the bigger picture of economic growth will now be achieved because counties are well resourced on matters of agriculture.
Agriculture later on, but before we ship out of that, many cane farmers are now running away from, you know, their mainstay in terms of agriculture. What are you going to do about that? Because now they feel that now they now need to move from sugarcane farming into other sources of farming. Are you addressing that?
First and foremost, of course, they have a reason to think about other crops, especially arising from the collapse of Mumias Sugar Company. As we speak right now, we are looking at diversification in as much as we still support sugarcane farming because it's one of the major cash crops. And I'm happy that at least we have an investor right now, Sarai Group from Uganda, who has put in some money in the revival of Mumias Sugar Company. So far, they are operating, I can say, below 20%. Because we don't have raw materials. So my responsibility as the governor is to encourage farmers to plant sugarcane so that we can sustain the operation of Mumias Sugar. But besides sugarcane, we're also now trying to diversify. We've had a very good conversation with the Minister for Trade and Industrialization, Moses Kuria, and the President, just to make sure that now we have special economic zones which will focus on agribusiness. And once you have those aggregation centers, like what is happening at Twiga Foods, I can assure you, people will not be crying about sugarcane. We'll now focus on avocado, for example, edible oils, things like rice farming, so that we have a diversification of crops. And that will be achieved through those aggregation centers in our industrial parks.
Are you thinking of diversification, number one, and even having now the value addition? You had your, as the governors, you're benchmarking at Trigger Food some 2-3 weeks ago.
Yes.
What did you learn from that you'd want to transfer to Kakamega County?
Now, what we learned from that is this issue of industrialization must start from the micro, small,
yes,
and medium enterprises. It's not a big thing per se. Once you focus on agribusiness, and then you have aggregation centers in an industrial park, for example. As Kakamega County, we have already procured land in Mumias. We want to have 3 aggregation centers or industrial parks. One in Mumias, another in Shinyalu, another one in Malava. Now, with those industrial parks, I can assure you, once we focus on aggregation, which is one of the things which Trigger Force is doing, we shall have food security here. We are going to create employment opportunities.
Yes.
Because we'll bring investors. And then the most important thing is value addition. For example, if it's milk processing, after we have gotten milk, you can now go into yogurt production, for example. That is value addition in agriculture. If it is maize farming, you now go into maize milling. That is value addition. Yes. So there's a lot that we learned from Trigger Foods and Kirdi. And we've actually been challenged as counties to have specific allocations into promoting industrial parks. The national government has allocated 100 million per county as a conditional grant again.
Yes.
And then for us in Kakamega County, the next financial year, we have committed 200 million so that this agribusiness and investment in industrial parks is realized. So it's a big conversation, and I could see a lot of opportunities being created, especially for employment, which is a big headache, through the agriculture, through the industrial parks and agribusiness.
Okay. Sugar, a bit later on. Let's talk about the issue of health. It's one of the devolved, functions to the counties, and it must be so close to your heart. The reason why I'm asking about this is I'd really want to get your point on the issue of there was a proposed construction of one of the biggest referral hospitals in Kakamega County. What is the state as we speak, Governor?
Now, this is our level 6 hospital. It's actually the biggest in the country because it's 750 bed capacity facility being implemented in 2 phases. Phase 1 will be 450 bed capacity,
right?
Which, as we speak at the moment, I can say is 90% done, especially the physical infrastructure. My predecessor had actually initiated a process of transferring that facility to national government. And in my view, I don't think whether that is a way forward, because you just be adding problems to national government when we know very well that we have a challenge. We have competing initiatives on the resource envelope. So the way to go, which as we speak right now, we have agreed with the president, is now inviting private participation for leasing of equipment. Because through a PPP framework, we are going to at least operationalize phase 1 in the next 12 months. What you only need to do is, which I'm trying to get, is get some allocation to finish some of those pending works, which will require more like 600 million. Once you do that, then we bring on board a private investor who will equip the hospital, who will also operationalize. Exactly.
Okay.
So it will be a kind of BOT, the Bill Operate and Transfer framework. And for me, in the medical world, that is the best approach, because you cannot really invest 6 billion shillings to buy equipment. So the leasing framework is the way to go. That's the conversation where we are now having with the national government. I know what the president is trying to look at is having a framework where any level 6 hospital that has been constructed, we go the leasing way for equipment. And for me, once we do that, I can assure you, Kakamega will be a different account, because that will become our second biggest industry after Masinde Muliro University. Yeah.
Take too long for it to be completed?
Largely because the construction was dependent on exchequer.
Right.
And you know the challenges with exchequer release. The timeliness has been a problem. The release of money is not predictable. And when you combine all those, you'll find the delay, of course, will be occasioned. And that's why I cannot make that mistake again, to start committing exchequer money for completion, because it will deprive other sectors of cash flow.
Yeah.
And the option of now having a PPP framework becomes viable. Yeah.
Okay, because it's going to be one of the biggest referral hospitals, level 6. That's quite big. And a majority of Kenyans coming all the way from Kisumu, Homa Bay County, Kisii County, pass just right in front of your county office going to MTRH in Eldoret. What is the timeline? What's going to be your turnaround so that we have this hospital completed and fully operational?
Now I'm looking at 12 months.
Okay.
Because from now.
Okay.
Because of completing the outstanding works, and now focusing on which is a viable option, because there are very many fellows who have expressed interest. PPP, you can either use a PIP, that is privately initiated partnership through unsolicited bids, or you can advertise through a consortium. And so once we settle on a viable option of getting a partner who will come to now do the equipping, you can be sure in the next 12 months they're going to be very active, because I know the more we delay, it will also be very expensive, because some of the equipment may be vandalized. And then, of course, focusing on just completing the outstanding civil works, which is our priority. So in the next 12 months, I'm confident that we'll be talking about something different.
Okay. You're talking about level 6. What about the primary healthcare? I mean, you have got so many sub-counties here. So what are you doing on the primary, county level, sub-county levels?
Yeah. Now, as you realize, 95% of the health is actually devolved.
Yes.
And that is a conversation, especially with regard to funding the primary health care. We have told the national government, without any fear of contradiction, that we should not be having funds to address the primary health care being budgeted at the national level. As we speak right now, we have so many dispensaries which we established, but they don't have drugs. Some of them are 20 or 30% done. So we want at least to complete all those projects which have been initiated, and then to make sure that in every sub-county, I have 13 of them in Kakamega, we have a proper level 4 hospital, which is well equipped.
What is the state as you speak?
As we speak, they are level 4, but the operations are not level 4, because you don't have adequate equipment in those level 4s. So they'll end up now addressing the primary healthcare issues, which going forward we are going to address by equipping those hospitals so that they just remain as referral hospitals. But the primary healthcare is now done in dispensaries and health centers. But the most important thing, which I did in my first 100 days, is to make sure that we have a stock take of drugs and non-farms in the hospitals, which after doing that, we have actually distributed drugs and non-farms to hospitals, costing almost 130 million Kenya shillings. And we are progressively also looking at how we can support our community health volunteers, the so-called CHVs. Those are our primary doctors on the ground. They're doing a lot of work. We are bringing upon a policy, a community health volunteers policy, which of course will give rise to a bill that will now address the welfare of these people. We want to put them on NHIF. We'll of course improve on their stipend so that the primary health care, once it's addressed, then of course we'll also reduce now on the reactive side. When we had COVID, this issue of just maintaining personal hygiene worked miracles, because some of the inherent diseases were being managed because we have addressed preventive mechanisms through the primary health care. So that's our focus.
Talk about the issue of Mumias, of course, delve more into that. Let's talk about the issue of congestion in Kakamega town. How are you going to expand the town? I mean, how are you going to give that town a facelift so that at the end of the day, it's the headquarters of Kakamega County? What is your legacy at the end of the 5 years? Let's take a break and we come back. We're still having that discussion. Fernandes Barasa of Kakamega County. Kakamega, after this, we are going to take, I'll tell you what you're going to take after this break. Stay with us. And welcome back. You are now catching us live on KBC Channel 1. This is Good Morning Kenya, coming to you from County 037, Kakamega County. The sun is already out. It's getting warmer. It was chilly when we started the show. But nonetheless, we have to continue. But right about now, let's take some of the questions that we asked the residents of Kakamega County. And these are some of the questions to their governor. Let's take a listen.
The mood in Stockholm, however, is one of pessimism. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg told defense ministers he expected Russia to throw more troops into battle. While this wouldn't do up like his Stoltenberg said this won't necessarily mean a turning point in the war.
Next, German officials have warned against hasty
We'll get to listen to the Vox Pop and the questions that were asked by the residents of Kakamega County. We'll get to that shortly. But Governor, let's talk about the issue of your plan to expand Kakamega town. The issue of decongesting the city, the town itself. What are you doing about it as the governor?
First and foremost, we want to bring order in town. And we are constructing some markets. There's one of the markets called Shijere Market, which of course will, once it's done, we expect to move most of the traders out of town so that they go now to these modern markets for purposes of decongesting the town.
Yes.
We also are progressively looking at just removing those informal structures within the CBD. And for me, that will bring order. Of course, we are rerouting some of the heavy trucks that traverse the town, especially the tractors carrying sugarcane. We want to reroute them so that they can have alternative routes, not traversing town and causing congestion. I know we've received some bit of resistance because people want shortcuts.
Yes.
But because of our commitments, to have the town maintained to be neat. And by the way, we want to make Kakamega the next city after 10 years. So for us to achieve the city status, then we cannot relent in our bid to make sure that there's some order in town. We don't have those mushrooming shrubs within the CBD. And with those specific programs, even by improving the sewerage system, which is a program we are doing through the Kenya Urban program, support program, funded by the World Bank. I'm sure the town will look different. We shall decongest it and then confidently to make Kakamega the next city.
When you talk about decongesting and transport sector, you just airstrip started to operationalize just the other day. How has it changed the entire transport system and even the face of your county?
Actually, the operation of the airstrip was timely because the launch was done in December. And it has sustainably been consistent, where we get at least Skywoods Express flying in and out once a day. And you're also encouraging now other airlines to start flying that route.
What is the frequency?
They do one trip in the morning and one in the afternoon. But the runway is now big enough, almost 2.4 kilometers, where we can also even have a jumbo jet landing there. I had a conversation with the KAA so that they can actually approve more airlines using that facility. But the bigger approach is, which we were tasked by the president, is to have an expansion program. We are now having a conversation with the neighboring landowners to acquire almost 100 acres of land so that we have now a proper airport there. That is a commitment which we also provided, and we are hoping that in the next financial year, with conversation with the Kenya Airports Authority, we'll now provide the 100 acres. Of course, compensation will be done by KAA. Ours is to facilitate that negotiation process. And then the airstrip will be expanded because in 2027, remember Kenya is bidding to host African Cup of Nations. We want Bukhungu Stadium, by the way, to be one of the venues. For hosting for hosting African Cup of Nations. And that can only make sense if we have an airport, not an airstrip. And that's why there's a lot of motivation in just making sure that the program of expanding the airport by providing alternative land to the landowners is actually accomplished within the next 12 months.
For a long time, but are you seeing a situation we are going to give competition to Kisumu County, the airport itself?
One thing that I can tell you is, of course, every county has its own unique ecosystem. When you look at our unique ecosystem and habitat in Kakamega, the Kakamega forest is very unique. We have the crying stone. We have quite a number of waterfalls. And for me, and then of course, the traditional is good and stuff like that. So culture is quite something. So once we get this airport up and running, we improve on our infrastructure. Bukhungu, as we speak right now, has the best pitches in the country, by the way. You know, that pitch of Bukhungu is better than Nyayo Stadium by 5 in Kasarani. So we'll provide an alternative investment opportunity as an investment hub in the western region. We may not surpass Kisumu, by the way, because they became a city long time, and then of course there are so many opportunities of investment. But Kakamega is the next big thing. Looking at the potential that we have, looking at the diversity that we have, because we believe our diversity is our strength in Kakamega. We are going to be the next investment frontier.
Okay. Mumias. And, as I promised, we need to delve deeper into this so that once and for all, even the farmers, even the national government, even the investors can get the real gist of what's happening. What is the state of Mumias sugar in black and white as we speak?
Now, where it's hit, I can tell you, is we need a lot more investment into the factory, and the national government needs to come in because they still have shareholding, almost 20%, and consider waiving the debts or having an arrangement with those suppliers and the DFIs that are owed money, almost 10 to 12 billion Kenya shillings. Once that is done, then the investor will now focus on crop development, because you cannot start grappling with investing the little money that you have and the capital injection we've brought in 5 billion shillings, and yet the hole is bigger. So my honest opinion on Mumias sugar is a bailout from the national government.
Going to
12 billion
Okay.
shillings. If that is done, even if it is staggered, you can see the commitment in the way the government has been bailing out Kenya Airways. Because the government cannot allow Kenya Airways to collapse. That's the face of Kenya on matters tourism, etc., and of course transport. If we get that commitment of national government bailing Mumias sugar of the historical obligations, then it will make sense for the investor to now focus on modernizing the facility, of course the factory, and now investing more in crop development.
Yes.
That I can tell you, if that is done, then it will be the best solution. At the moment, I can say just scratching the surface.
It's actually the surface, but the government might not be so keen on bailing out Mumias sugar because for a very long time it's been used for a political tool. Can this change?
I think that is at the doorstep of the president. In fact, when we had a meeting with him when he came around in December as the leaders of the Western region, that was one of the key agenda items. I know the first year may be difficult because when we've just come from a transitional government, priorities will change. Even the disbursement that we are getting from national government, and they are largely affected because of the transitional issues. So maybe progressively, it may not happen in the next financial year, but we'll keep the conversation alive so that we have a pragmatic approach from the national government on bailing out the historical obligations pursuant of the shareholding that it has, which is a very big stake of 20%. Yeah. That for me will be the best and most practical solution on MSC.
So first of all, then the rest of the procedures will follow.
Absolutely.
And then now, what do you tell the farmers? Because for a very long time, farmers now had to opt for, transposing their cane either from Mumias to other factories. What will you tell them? So that at the end of the day, they need to have hope.
What I can tell them practically is that we have very good fortunes around the revival of Mumias sugar. I am actually a cane farmer. I planted a lot of cane. I've planted a lot of cane. I've delivered my cane to Mumias sugar for the last, actually in December.
Have you been paid for that delivery?
I was paid after 1 week.
Okay.
So my encouragement to farmers is that at least there is hope. When you deliver cane to Mumias sugar company, the payment has been eased at least after a week. You are paid, per ton is 4,550. And that for me is a very strong statement and also a message of hope. And one thing that we have agreed, which of course the new investor is also focusing on, is how we can address those, we call them DRs, the debits. Because in the previous investment, a farmer could deliver cane there, but instead of getting money, you are the one owed. You are the one who owes the company. So once those DRs have been expunged from their statements, then they can start from a zero level, and whatever they deliver, which I can bear witness and testimony, you are paid after 1 week.
And that is done. Okay.
Because I was actually paid after a week after delivering my sugarcane in December.
The infrastructure, the factory will be up and running as per your word, but then now sugarcane takes a long time for it to mature. To get to the factory. So what are you going to tell the farmers now? What are you going to do so that you can reactivate the whole process of farming now?
Of course, the investment in different varieties is crucial. Sometimes I can say nature can conspire for the benefit of the farmers. After Mumias collapsing almost 5 to 10 years ago, most of the farmers abandoned sugarcane farming. So technically, the soil has been resting. Let me put it that way. This is the time now when you start again planting cane, because of the high acidity level that was associated with poor yield. I'm sure this story different. When you talk to agriculturalists, they'll tell you, when land has been fallow for 5 years, and then now you till it, the yield will be high. So my message to farmers is let them go back to sugarcane growing. The fortunes are positive. You will be paid once you deliver. And we also have now the cogeneration, things like molasses, things like now energy will become a reality, because that is also one of the other related investments within Mumias in the factory. Once we have the cogen working, energy will be produced, which will be sold to the national grid. We have the spirits, again will be produced. So all those subsidiary investments within Mumias, once they start operating, then we'll be talking about a different thing. That will now put Mumias back proper on the recovery path economically.
Okay. You have hope that Mumias once again will be up and running very soon.
It will be up and running. But it can now be fast-tracked if there's a bailout of those historical obligations.
Bills. I know you're also grappling with the issue of pending bills from the previous administration. You chair one of the key and one of the backbone committees at the COG, and you've had several conversations with the national government, the treasury, the president. Where are we as a country, Governor?
Now, first and foremost, our position on pending bills is that they need to be verified, so that after the verification process, then you can now start budgeting for them. I'm lucky in Kakamega County. That was the first thing I did after being sworn in on the 15th of September. Those bills were audited, and we didn't have a lot of pending bills. We had almost 900 million.
900 million, okay. How much have you cleared so far?
So far, we've cleared almost 600 million.
That's good.
In pending bills. In fact, when you look at the report that we had by COB, we are doing very well on proactiveness of addressing the development expenditure and largely being the pending bills. But the global conversation around 47 counties is the pending bills must be verified before you now do the disbursement. I know the guidelines from the National Treasury is they need to have the first charge from the equitable share. But you see, when you rush because you want to comply with the national government or the National Treasury's guidelines, then the next thing will be an audit at your doorstep. So the verification process is crucial. And then after the verification process, then the payment kicks in. Because it's also very good for the payments to be done so that you can actually, I can say, stimulate economic activities within the county, because when there's no circulation of money, then the economic activities in the counties will be affected. But by and large, the bigger picture is about verification, and then after verification, we now give priority to those pending bills. But the most proactive approach on avoiding to have a lot of pending bills is now a commitment from the National Treasury on the disbursement of the equitable share. It needs to be timely, it needs to be predictable.
And this has to come from the national government. You've received so far?
So far, for example, in Kakamega County, we've received around 6 billion Kenya shillings. That is disbursements up to the month of November. We still have disbursements that are pending for December, January, and February.
And what's the talk all about? Escalate for the disbursement for the next batch?
Of course, we've proactively been engaging the National Treasury. Of course, they talk about competing initiatives. They tell you about the obligations under Article 203. That is the loan repayments and the principal repayments of our national debt, which for me, it is something that should not be overemphasized, because those loan books have been there since time immemorial. I think we just need a commitment from the National Treasury to support counties, especially with regard to disbursements, because that is the only way this bottom-up economic transformation agenda will be achieved. Activities needs to be at the grassroots, at the bottom of the pyramid, which are the counties. When we get that right, then the issue of disbursement will be a thing of the past. Of course, we've had a conversation with COB around that, and we're telling them your mandate stops at approving requisitions that have been sent by the counties in order to facilitate the release of money from the CRF, the county revenue funds, to the facilities account. So once that is done, then you can be sure the pending bills issue will be addressed. Our revenues from the equitable share will be timely and predictable. Then we'll have lesser and lesser amounts committed at the end of the financial year as pending. In fact, we'll only be having accruals as opposed to pending bills.
What is your government equitable share?
Our equitable share from the national government is 12 billion Kenya shillings. Of course, you also have conditional grants and our own source revenue, which at the moment amounts to now a total of 15 billion shillings.
You intend to use this money, because at the end of the day, you need to serve your people very well, people of Kakamega, based on, again, your collection as a...
Of course, the activities we have in my 6-point agenda are program-based, right? Of course, we'll do a lot of investment into the health facilities. Healthcare is critical for me. Water is critical. Amatso Mliango is critical for me. Infrastructure is critical, because you need to have proper infrastructure so that after you have done investment in agribusiness, then those products can be taken to the market. So infrastructure is critical. And of course, agriculture you can't overemphasize. Those for me are the key pillars. And what I'm trying to do, for purpose of having equity in all the 60 wards. By the way, Kakamega is one of the largest, as I told you, with the 90 MCS, 60 elected and 30 nominated. We'll have amounts going to every ward of 20 million shillings to be implemented through what we call ward flagship projects. That will address development across the board equitably, so that people can feel the power and the fruits of devolution. So those will be my key focus areas. But more importantly is now on enhancing on-source revenue, which we've done through automation.
Yeah.
This automated
of revenue.
Exactly.
Yes.
With automation, we are targeting to collect not less than 3 billion Kenya shillings, because we have a potential of 5.8 billion. So all these efforts, when we consolidate them, I'm sure we are going to have a target of not less than 16 billion Kenya shillings,
that would be enough,
which will be able to finance our activities. And more importantly, on health, my cabinet has approved what we call Facilities Improvement Fund, whereby the amounts collected within the Ministry of Health will be plowed back in the same ministry to address the infrastructure, disbursements of and procurement of drugs and non-farms. And this will go a long way in addressing the health.
And I'm told that you're running out of time, but what is a legacy project right now as we speak?
As we speak right now?
Yes.
As we speak right now,
yes.
My focus is on 3 areas. One is about food security, very crucial, because you cannot have a county that is hungry. Number 2 is Amazo Mulyango, which is water at the doorstep, because we need clean water, which is one of my key areas. And then, of course, healthcare is critical, because my predecessor was focusing largely on the infrastructure. I want to blend infrastructure and the software part of it, so that we don't just construct dispensaries, health centers, but equipping them is critical, so that now the provision of health services becomes a priority, as opposed to just having the infrastructure in place, but there are no medicines.
No medicine.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Relationship with your deputy?
My relationship is very good. In fact, very many people are surprised the way we're working very closely together.
Because, from the beginning, we here and there, some handshake kind of. Did it happen?
We didn't need to have a handshake because there was no issue. When you talk about a handshake, it means maybe there was an issue, but we didn't have an issue. I can say it was a creation of the media. It was hot air.
It was hot air?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But so far, so good? So
far, so good.
All right.
Yeah.
Governor, thank you so much for your time. We've done exactly enough time for the people of Kakamega to get to listen to their governor. We hope that at the end of the day, your key pillars, whatever you promise the people of Kakamega, you will achieve in a record time. And all we can just say is it's all up to you to get to business.
Very well.
Thank you.
Very well.
Thank you so much for hosting us.
Asante
sana. That is Honorable FCPA Governor Fernandes Barasa of Kakamega County. We've taken 1 hour talking about his legacy project, some of the hits and misses, and what you should be looking forward to in his administration in the next 5 years. Right about now, let's take a break, and we come back. We are going back to the broadcasting house for our normal programming. Right now, it's a wrap from Kakamega County. Bye for now. Good.